let's talk about Space Boy. It was a webtoon that was recommended to me in the comment section under one of my previous videos, and I eagerly jumped on it, and oh my god, what a discovery. I was initially planning to release one long video about it, but upon doing it, I realized that there's so much to talk about that I'm gonna actually do a few separate videos just to touch upon everything I want to say. This is the webtoon that really shook me to my core, and if I were to talk about it fully, it would probably take days, so I'm just gonna stick to the themes that affected me the most, and first of these themes is generally how technology is portrayed in Space Boy. But first we're gonna talk about the premise a bit, so we have a bigger context, and in this video and all the following ones I'm gonna try to withhold as many spoilers as possible, because I seriously recommend this webtoon. It's absolutely beautiful. It is full of amazing messaging, it is really gripping, there is a lot of mystery to the story. I mean, it's delicious, honestly. It's one of the best things I read in ages, so I can't recommend it enough. Get on it, you won't regret it. The premise of the Space Boy is situated in the alternative reality world, something that I enjoy a lot. And this world is made to resemble ours. The countries are sort of similar, there are some combinations of different countries put together. So the story kind of lets us know that it's a fantasy setting, not kind of one-to-one representation of our world. However, it is definitely designed to resemble it. And it is happening in sort of like a future. There are different colonies established in the universe, and one of these colonies is a colony that our main protagonist is living on. And this colony is kind of like a mining colony, that they mine this material. I can't quite remember the name, but it's generally a material that is used to power a lot of technology, space travel, and it is a material that provided humanity with a chance of a huge technological advancement. Another important thing that is established in the very beginning is that humanity discovered something called the artifact. Supposedly, due to the space exploration that humanity is doing, they managed to discover this mysterious artifact that is kind of hovering in space, and they set up a spaceship to reach the artifact and discover its nature. And this is kind of like, breakthrough discovery to confirm that we are not alone in the universe. I mean, so far so good. I'm loving everything. I'm very much into UFOs and things like that, so that's just another little unnecessary detail that I'm gonna throw in here. But generally, yeah, the premise is like that. And our main protagonist, she is living on that mining colony, and everybody in that colony is involved with mining this precious element that is used for technology. And all of a sudden, so it happens that her dad loses his job. This is not much of a spoiler because it happens in the first chapter, so I'm just gonna try to kind of evade the major details. I'm just gonna give you the little, I guess, a layout of the story without going too much into details. That's what at least I'm attempting to do, because my tongue is just having a mind on its own when it comes to spoilers, but I'm trying to keep it at bay. So she essentially has to leave the colony because of the resources and everything. Obviously, they are limited and they need to be very mindful of all the waste and everything. She and her family are essentially sent back to Earth. And it is possible because humanity discovered this cryogenic chamber, which basically freezes you until you reach your destination some years later, where they unfreeze you and you kind of, resume your life, I guess. These cryogenic chambers are mostly used for traveling very long distances. I'm not going to go too much into science, but space travel takes a lot of time. So our main character has to say goodbye to her most beloved friends, and by the time she reaches Earth, they're like adults. And she's 16 still. They're in their 40s. And we see how much it affects her. On one hand, it's amazing that, we discovered this marvelous thing that allows us to travel far, far away into the universe and backwards. However, it is worth taking into consideration what that represents for human experience. Once she reaches Earth, all of her friends and everyone she knew is literally in a completely different stage of her life, and that causes her a lot of suffering. She doesn't want to call her best friend because she's afraid that they will have absolutely nothing to talk about, that, the age gap is going to be so big that they're going to be at two different stages of life. And we see how much it affects her. And in here we also see how brutal is the reality of that mining colony. Something that serves the greater good of humanity and, provides us with all of this technological advancement is also very inhuman to the people who occupy it, because they don't care whether you live there all your life. As soon as you are not providing any physical value to them as a mining employee or something, they are ready to send you away, and they don't care about anything regarding your experience. So she ends up on Earth. And during that years of traveling that she unwillingly took on, humanity makes more progress when it comes to technology and discovers Netgear glasses. Netgear glasses are kind of like VR glasses that we are all familiar with, but these are very much more advanced than what we know. People are literally living in different realities. So she experiences quite a huge shock when she realizes that everybody is kind of locked in that little world of theirs. And this is something that I found very relatable. Internet overall is a great thing. It allows people to exchange their ideas, it's a huge asset for creativity, and it keeps us connected on the degree that we never experienced in all human history. However, there is a dark side to it, and we have to realize what it is. It's actually kind of keeping people together, but it's also setting them apart. Because the more time you spend on the internet, the less time you spend in the real world. And that seems to be affecting people deeply on a psychological level, and we see that already with the booming epidemic of loneliness reported everywhere in the world. And this is very accurately portrayed in Space Boy. We see our main protagonist, Amy, enter that world without prior knowledge about the Netgear glasses, and she learns about it. And these are sort of utilized by everyone. They're actually a requirement at her school, so she has to get a pair too. And she is experiencing it with the outsider's perspective because she's not familiar with the technology, so she kind of has a first glance at it. She's sort of outside looking in at this whole thing before putting her Netgear glasses on. And what she sees is a group of people that don't really interact with each other in any meaningful way. Everybody seems to be in their own little world. And only when she enters the Netgear glasses world or the virtual reality, she understands that some of these people are actually interacting with one another. However, on the surface level, when she's outside looking in, it actually looks like everybody's doing their own thing. And the device that it really reminds me of is our smartphones. Like, if you watch people in public, everybody's in their own little bubble. People don't seem to be interacting with each other. They don't really look at each other either. We are, in a way, connected, but in the same way, we are disconnected from one another. And I think it's a really interesting concept to see someone entering that world and discovering one by one what it means for humanity. Because essentially then she discovers different features on Netgear glasses and she sees that these actually are quite an amazing thing. You know, you can play virtual reality games and all sorts of stuff that she's really excited about. And these net glasses allow her to talk to people that are very far away, the people on the mining colony that she left and elsewhere in space, which is a huge benefit for her as it allows her to stay connected with the loved ones. So she learns to appreciate this technology. But initially, she sees that disconnect. And I think the comic book really manages to show us these two sides of technology. It really made me think about the direction we are heading as humanity, because this is essentially what's going to happen to us. VR is getting better and better. We have artificial intelligence now. So, I mean, I guess this is something that is not too far ahead of us. And we have to learn how we're going to incorporate it in our lives. So we reap the benefits, but we ensure that we don't suffer the consequences of sort of the dark side of virtual reality. The story generally raises very interesting questions regarding different aspects of technology, such as disinformation and things like that. But the thing that stuck out to me the most was the story of one of the scientists, Dr. Kim, who is portrayed to be driven by personal tragedy, and he wants to create something good for humanity. He wants to create prosthetics, and essentially he wants to create a body that humans who are put in the very horrible situation, like, you know, they are paralyzed or for whatever reason their body gives up on them, they have a body that they could occupy so they can have sort of like normal life. But in order to fulfill his wish and create this kind of body, he obviously needs funding. And who is that generous person who agrees to fund his research, you may ask? Well, it's an organization that essentially ends up using his inventions for their own good. And it's for no good, because everything he creates, they manage to turn into some deadly weapon or something evil that they can utilize for their own benefits. And I'm thinking about how often it happens in real life, that somebody is making some breakthrough discovery only for this discovery to be hijacked by some other entity, which is using it to create bombs, to create weapons, to create some sort of horrible thing that it's actually worse for humanity that this thing exists. And the original intention is kind of lost in translation somewhere along the way. And I think this is a very interesting point that this story makes. So this is just the first of the 3 videos I'm planning to release regarding Space Boy. I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers where possible. However, in my next video, I think it's nearly impossible because we're gonna talk about PTSD and trauma, so I'm gonna have to stick to certain story points to portray it fully. But generally, I'm trying my best to avoid these because I really want people to read this webtoon because it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm very thankful to the person who recommended it to me. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. After we come back from our space travel with Space Boy, I am going to talk about different webtoons that got released lately and some entertainment as a whole. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, please stay tuned. For now, I wish you a very lovely week and I'll speak to you later. Bye!